Good morning and welcome to the next session of our advanced level design class. Today we'll be covering how to create grass. So here I have my SpeedTree modeler open. Just select File, New, and you'll be met with your display screen as in the last video. Creating grass is a easy process in SpeedTrees. All you have to do is just hold down the spacebar, which changes the cursor to a crosshair, and hold left click and drag, just make a little mound, and then just click your tree, actually click your trunk, and then click caps, branch, and make sure only fronds is checked, and you should have something that looks like this. It's sort of like a planar, a rectangular planar on each side, and it'll look kind of like a plus or an X. And once you have that going, you can then create your material, or you can just start planting your grass now. But I'm going to leave that for a little later. I'm going to go into Photoshop, and we're going to have to create our grass material from scratch. Now, of course, this can be also done in Substance Designer, but I'm going to show you the process on how to do it a little bit old school today. So I'm going to go to my CG Textures website, and I'm going to grab a good grass texture. Now don't be fooled with this. Grass is just going to create these kinds of textures. We want leaves. They also have dead leaves. But I'm going to select the grass that I took in class. Take this, show in folder, and put my Photoshop to the side here, and just drag and drop. Alternatively, I can just click File, Open, and all that stuff, but I just prefer to do it that way. So now that we have our grass in Photoshop, all I have to do is just create my new Photoshop with the proper dimensions. I'm going to call this grass. And the when you put leaves inside Substance Designer, the dimensions for putting leaves has to be 512 by 512. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to create another window here. I can just go back and forth like this. So I need to cut out one of these leaves here, so I'm just going to select my crop tool, which looks like this, and I'm going to select any of these leaves I want. Say for instance I want this one here. Press enter, press Control A to select everything, Control C to copy, go into my next window, Control V to paste, hit this button up here, and as you can see, we have our leaf, but it's really pretty big. So let's go to Edit in Photoshop, Transform, Scale it. You can do all sorts of things here. And we're just going to hold the Shift button down on one of these corners to scale evenly. Holding Shift, stretch it out. And let's say we're happy with that. So once this is the dimensions we want it, just hit this button here. It's going to ask you if you want to apply the transformation, and you click apply, and there we have one leaf. And to save some time here, I guess I'll just duplicate this one leaf like this, edit transform that one, holding Shift to uniformly scale it. But I want my leaves to have some different kind of variation, so I'm going to rotate this guy. Don't want all my leaves to look the same, and let's say I'm happy with that. I'll place him in the middle, go like this, transform him, rotate, maybe do a little horizontal flip, that, and let's say like that. Actually, I'm going to adjust this guy here a little bit. There we go. And maybe make that one a little bit bigger, a little thicker like that. Alrighty, I'm happy with that. And let's do one more. Put it on this side. Transform it again, scale it, hold shift to uniformly scale it so we don't lose the overall shape of the grass. I'm gonna rotate it, maybe put it in this angle a little bit, and do one last scale to stretch it out a bit. I'm gonna apply that, gonna reposition that there, and let's say I'm happy with that. So now that I have my grass texture that I created, I can just make all these different blades one picture instead of 3 separate pictures being on top of each other. So to do this, just hold the control key and select, or not the control key, hold the shift key and select the different various layers. You right click and then you select merge layers, and that will create our one image that we have. Now there's just one last thing we got to do. We got to create an alpha channel so that when we import our grass, this bounding box area around our leaves will be invisible and only the grass will remain. So to do this, if I click on my channels tab and then go and click this button here, I can create a new channel, and I'm going to just delete the one here. You could leave the one, it doesn't matter. Make sure mask is on and all the default settings are applied, and then just click OK. Going back to my layers now, I need to create the appropriate colors to work the alpha channel. And to do that, I'm going to create a new layer, which is down here. And I'm going to move this layer behind our grass so that the black doesn't cover the grass blades. So I'm going to select my paint bucket tool here, and I'm just going to click fill in, and you'll notice that our black background is now behind our leaves. Now again, let me show you what happens if you put this on front. It makes your grass disappear, so that's how your layers are working. And so in an alpha channel, the black background is what's going to be invisible. But since there's no white, if we import our grass just like this, our grass will be completely vanished, because you have to assign through a white color what's going to be visible on your alpha channel. So to do this, I'm just going to roughly do a magic wand selection. I can do this by clicking and holding on my little quick selection tool here and then click magic wand. And I'm going to select layer 2 because that's where my grass is, and I'm going to click on my grass and I'm going to hold shift, and you'll notice my cursor changes to a magic wand plus. That's because the one selection isn't going to be enough and I want to add as much of the leaf as possible. So I'm going to continue to add here and add there, add this leaf, select that part, go over here, and now I have my whole leaf selected. So from here, now that I have my selection, I want to bring my selections into layer my other layer with the black, because if I fill in the layer in layer 2, it's going to cover the leaves with white, and we don't want the white on front of the leaves, we want the white on back of the leaves. So I'm going to hit my switch colors here and go into my paint bucket fill and fill in the leaves here. And if I click the eyeball over here, you'll notice that my selections that I created with my leaves are now filled in with white. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm going to hit Control D, which will deselect everything that I have. right? And now I'm going to hit Control A to select everything and Control C to copy. I'm going to go to my channels, and you're going to notice that my red, green, and blue channels all have this white, black and white picture that we have. But now we need to apply that picture to our alpha channel, which has nothing in it. So I'm going to select my alpha channel. I'm going to uncheck all of these guys so that I'm viewing only what's on my alpha channel. And then I'm going to select my alpha channel and hit Control V. And now you should have across all 4 channels the same picture. And now that we have that, we just need to do one last thing, and that's to merge the 2 images together. So hold Shift, select both layers, right click, and select Merge Layers. Actually, we want the eyeball there. So make sure all your layers are visible, and then right click Merge Layers. And you should get something that looks like this. So if you got this going, you're on the right track. So from here we just File, Save As, and since Unreal only works with Targas, SpeedTrees only works with Targas, and guess I already created something here, so I'm just going to create new folder, call it grass texture, whoops, caps lock, right? And I'm going to import the grass as a grass diffuse because it's simply just our texture. And I'm going to click Save. Now this option is going to pop up. Remember that anything with an alpha channel has to have a 32-bit pixel, unless it doesn't have an alpha channel, in which case you'll leave it at 24. But in this case, it's an alpha channel, so we have 32. We click OK. And now our diffuse is done. Next, we're going to need to create a specular. Otherwise, if we just put in our leaves like this, in light or darkness, they're going to look this color. And we need our grass to work with our lighting in our level. So to do this, we need to give it a specular. So we just go to, let's see here, I believe it was Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. And we basically just need to take the saturation all the way to black and white. Because in a specular, any part that is black is dull, and any part that is white is shiny. So our specular is probably going to be a little bit too shiny for grass. So let's just adjust the lightness on here. And let's say that's good. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to save this as, once again, in our grass texture folder as a targa. And this time I'm going to call it grass spec or specular. Once again, we're going to save it with the 32-bit and click OK. And now we have our diffuse and our specular. Our Photoshop part is done, so I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to open up a new program, which you can get at www.xnormal.net. And it's basically just a program that creates normals. And normals are images that create the surface of our materials. So if you got this program, you can just go to Tools. You can go to Photo Normal, and you'll get this window here. So we just got to go to our desktop, find our grass texture folder that we created, and put in our diffuse in all 4 slots here. So over here, and over here, here, and here. And now all it's just a matter of is just right-clicking in our normal map window and hitting Generate. Now if I maximize this, you can see that the detail is a little bit washed out, so we can intensify the normal map by decreasing the value here. So I'm going to make this 0.3. Now when you hit enter, you're not going to see an immediate change, so you have to right click in your normal map window again and generate it again, and then you'll see the changes take place. Now as you can see, the ripples on the leaves are more defined, and this is going to make our leaves look less like paper and more like leaves or grass. So I'm going to right click that since I'm happy with it, save normal map. I'm going to go into my folder that I created in my desktop that has my grass textures, and I'm going to go name this grass normal. Alright, and make sure that when you save the file type that it's a TGA, that's Targa. Once we have that, we click save. It's going to pop this. Yes, you want to create it. It's going to tell you that it created it successfully. Just X out of this, X out of this. And now we have all three textures that we need to apply in SpeedTrees. So let me close out of this, and let me close out of this. And now I'm going to apply my grass material. I'm going to hit my plus minus sign, add my grass material, click OK, and now my little buttons light up. So for my diffuse, I'm going to hit the little dot 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 sign. I'm going to go to my folder on my desktop. I'm going to select my diffuse. Oh, I misspelled diffuse, but you get it. I'm going to select my normal and slot that in. And lastly, I'm going to select my specular. And now we have our diffuse, normal, and specular. And all we have to do is just click on our grass here and go to materials under frond. We're going to hit the plus sign, and under material we're going to select our grass material we created. And right there we have our grass. And from here we can start painting it. If we hold the space bar, I get my crosshair again. I can drag up, try to make some good looking grass like this. Just sort of go around. And let's say I want to put some more grass here. And maybe here. And I guess here and here. Oh, that one's too squiggly. Like that. There we go. So let's say I'm happy with that. Maybe make one last grass there. And this is our grass. Now, if you're not happy with the way your grass looks, there's all sorts of adjustments you can do in SpeedTrees. You can increase the size of the grass with the size scaler. Right? You can increase the width of the grass. And if you find that your grass is sort of floating in the air, you just go to your sync by clicking your tree and adjusting it accordingly. Maybe you want that as 2. And now we have our grass. So with our grass completed, we just file, save as. Going to go into my grass texture folder that I created. And I'm going to create, I'm going to name this grass. There we go. And now our SpeedTree modeler part is complete. So now we just X out of this and open our compiler now. So I'm going to go File, New. I'm going to select Add Trees. And I'm going to go into my desktop folder that I created. And I'm going to open up my grass. Click Next and Finish. And here we have our grass. And for when it comes to grass, you don't need to put a texture atlas on. I'm going to change the output folder here to my grass texture and make a new folder. I'm going to call it grass compiled. So all my compiled stuff goes into that folder. I'm going to click OK. And once that's done, just hit Start Compilation. Compile it. done, and now we're done with our compiled part. Now in UDK, it's just a matter of importing our grass, texture, and project into our package. So I have a folder here called grass test. So I'm just gonna recreate a new one. We'll just call this foliage, I guess. I'll name this grass. Click OK. So I created a new package that has my foliage in it. Now, of course, you won't be creating a new package every time you create a new asset. You want to put all your assets in a single package, but just for example's sake, to keep things clean, I'm just creating these packages. But now that we have our foliage, we're going to import, going to select our grass texture inside the compiled folder, and everything that's in here we're going to open. Click OK to all. And now it's just a matter of creating our material. Now sometimes when you import a SpeedTree into UDK, it may not show. So to solve this problem, you can save the package, see if that brings up your grass material, and if it doesn't, fully unload the package and then reload it again, and that should do the trick. In the most extreme case, if it still doesn't load, just close down your UDK and reopen it back up, and it should be there. So now that our grass is showing up, it's just a matter of creating our new material. So I'm going to right click on my diffuse and create new material. I'm gonna I guess just call this grass. It's gonna make it name it that, so it's whatever, just keep it that way. So I'm gonna double click my new material, and I'm going to plug this into my diffuse, because that is my diffuse. And then I'm going to slap in my specular and my normals and plug these in appropriately. So this goes in here, and this goes in here. Now remember that this black needs to be made invisible, so we need to create a vertex color node, and we need to add it by either typing add here, or you can simply hold the A key on your keyboard and left click, or you can go and do it the long way and right click, go to math and select new add. Doesn't matter how you go about doing it. We're going to take the alpha channel of our diffuse and the alpha channel of the vertex and click our node here and make sure that we change the blend mode to masked, and make sure that we make our grass two-sided, and plug in our alpha, diffuse, and vertex color into opacity mask. And then we click the check mark, which creates the material. And here we have our material. We can double click our speed tree here. We click on our material and select it to our frond. This might take a while, and there you go. We have our grass. You could also apply it to your leaf card. That doesn't seem to hurt it either. So once you have your grass, it's just a matter of dragging, dropping, and then there's your grass. Then you can scale this up if you'd like. And if the colors seem to bother you, just hit the build lighting button. Make sure your use light mask is selected. Recompile it. May take a moment. You can fast forward this part of the video if you'd like. And then your grass is properly lit within the environment. Alrighty. Well, that's how you create grass in UDK. And if you have any questions, let me know. And I'll catch you next time.